Hi, I'm Eric Miller, and today I want to show you how to use the GV10X Downstream Asher, except I don't know how to do it, so we brought in an expert to show us how. Hi, I'm Eric Miller. For starters, we're going to need to find an empty port on our instrument and the appropriate flange adapter. Well, what if I don't have a flange adapter to fit my port? Well, that shouldn't be a big deal. You should be able to get the one you need from your microscope's vendor. Is any port okay? It should be, as long as there's space for the unit on the outside of the instrument. Otherwise, you'll generally want to mount the cleaner somewhere above the sample. You know this isn't an electron microscope, right? In this case, we've got a standalone vacuum system here that we're going to use for demonstration purposes. Okay, anything else I should be aware of? Well, if you have any silver inside the vacuum chamber, like braided silver wires, they are not going to like this. Otherwise, we should be good. Groovy. So as that's pumping down, we can get the GV10X up and running. We'll start off by making sure this coax cable and this 15-pin connector are plugged in to both the source and the back of the controller. And of course that the controller is then plugged into the wall. Okay, so if this was a microscope, once it's pumped down, should I open the isolation valve and turn on the high voltage? Whoa! No, you definitely don't want to do that. We want to make sure that when we run the GV10X, anything that's active inside the microscope is off. Okay, so if everything is off and I've turned on the GV10X, well then it should start up with a self-test. You know, I failed a self-test once. I didn't know you could fail the SATs. Anyway, what we'll see once the self-test is done is a bunch of information. The first line will be the software version, then the serial numbers of the source and the controller, and if we scroll down, we'll see power on plasma, ignite watts, and ignite sex. By selecting these last three things, we can adjust them with the arrow keys here. Power on plasma 0/1, what does that mean? Well, 0 is the factory setting, and if it's set to 1, when we turn the controller unit on, it'll just start to run, which we may want to do once we get it all set up here, and then we don't have to mess around with it later. Just turn it on and it'll run however we have it set up. That sounds good to me. The factory setting for ignite watts and ignite sex are 50 and 3. That means 50 watts are applied for 3 seconds to ignite the plasma. Well, why would I want to change that? Well, if you're trying to clean samples inside the chamber, 50 watts might be a little too high, so you might set it a little bit lower just for that, but otherwise, nah. You don't really need to mess around with it. So how do we set the time in watts for it to actually run? If we hit the escape button, we can move between the setup and the control screen. And then if we hit the select button, that will change which parameter we have selected, and then we can change the set value with the increase or decrease buttons. So I see there in the set line that we've set 50 watts for 0 hours, 30 minutes, and 2 seconds. Right, so once we press the on-off button, this process will start. Then if we look at the act line, that shows us the actual power that's being delivered, the reflected power, and the time elapsed. The last line shows the tuning voltage and the time the plasma was lost, if it dies while it's running. What if I don't like the power it's running at? Do I have to turn it off and start over? Yeah, you can't change the time while it's running, but you can change the watts. And to stop it early, I can just push the on-off button, right? Wow, you are a sharp one. Okay, so what else? And that's it. Really? That's pretty easy. Hey, what can I say?